This conference will now be recorded.
I feel so honored that you are all here today because, first of all, it's nice to be able to facilitate an online class where I don't feel like I'm just speaking into a void, but that there's actual people there. So when you are able to attend on a Tuesday for these classes, it really does mean a lot. But I also understand that we have huge lives. And so the recordings are going to be made for just that purpose. I'd like to welcome you, and we're just going to launch right on in. So today, actually, if you can just put in the chat box though, can everyone see me okay? And can you hear me okay? Just say yes if one of that's great. Thanks, Kylie. Great, great. Okay. So just to go over a few of the general programming, what's going to happen. So this is the opportunity for me to share with you some of the personal parts of the journey of owning my own practice and my own business has done for me. It's also an opportunity for us to connect in one of the ways. The other one, of course, is our secret Facebook group. And I've done it that way because I want us to be able to collect all the resources I'm going to share. It would just be too hard for you to write down absolutely everything. And I already have a whole host of things I'm going to be loading in over the next couple of days just in this unit alone. And the fun thing is Facebook has created a way where now we can create units. So under each unit, so this one's going to be called Drive Your Dream, I will add the different resources there. So I will post, and then if we can keep the thread under that post for the questions you have, particularly for that activity or that issue, or and then I think we're going to be able to keep this quite organized for ourselves. And of course, organization is a little bit the name of the game when it comes to running your own business successfully. So together, we're going to be able to test if this is one thing we can add to our practices of creating units and using Facebook for this purpose. The workbook, which I hope you got, and I would like to welcome my sister is a part of our group. She is also an entrepreneur. And I had no idea she was going to join. And then she really wanted to be a part. And the workbook, I would like to give complete kudos to her because she's generating it for us. She's actually finished it for us. And she's made it PDF friendly so we can type right into our the information right in. And so I would like to just thank her for that. And I'm gonna send out just the chapter we're working on each time. I was debating about sending the whole thing, but I also know that I want us to dig really deep where we are. And I think one of the biggest struggles for at the entrepreneurial mind is we tend to be in the moment, but also 50 paces ahead. And for this program and for what I really feel is going to give us the greatest success, I want us to stay as much in the moment as possible. So we're going to stay right in this one unit of Drive Your Dream for the next 2 weeks. Private coaching session. You can set this up anytime before June 11th. And so you can just go to the link that I sent you in that initial email and set it up. You may want to wait. You may want to wait a few units before we set up our meeting together because you may have more questions or new insights that you want to discuss. But of course, if you've got questions, that's what Messenger's for as well. And we can connect through Facebook Messenger, or if you want to send me an email. I worry about too many emails only because I already get a lot and I don't want to miss you. where I'm going to live in the hub on Facebook and make sure you always get my first morning's attention. And then the book. I hope everyone's received the book. So if you have, please enjoy it. If you want to just do it chapter by chapter, if you're wanting to read ahead, whatever process works for you, that's great. I'm going to be bringing up some of the things that are in the book, but I'm going to be bringing up some other things as well that aren't in the book. And tools to keep at hand. So have the workbook at hand for sure. The unit that we're working on. Business plan. You'll want to have a journal next to you. The research is still clear that when we handwrite notes, it's a different process for us. But of course, you might be working directly on your computer as well, whatever process works for you. You will want to keep track of your list of to-dos. So having some mechanism of where you're going to put all your ideas and to-dos from this program. And again, that could be online in a separate document, that could be in a journal, but some form of place to really organize that. And a separate place where you can start organizing the people that start coming up, the connections you want to make, the gratitudes you want to give, because that's going to be a real part of this as well. So here we go into driving our dream. Sorry, already skipped a slide. So driving our dream. It's one thing to dream, eh? We love to dream. Entrepreneurs love to dream. Artists love to dream. Creatives love to dream. But it's another thing to express that dream in a way where we can be sustainable and grow a sustainable business. And I really feel that our businesses are one of the best ways we can express our dream and make a tremendous difference. I saw one of my dreams early on when I was in elementary school, and we were called down to assembly, and there was a stool in the middle of the room, and there was a video projector, reel to reel. Some of you might remember those. Remember when they used to break and snap, and then they had to tape it, and it was a reel to reel. And this gentleman came out and he started sharing with us in elementary school, and I'm a Gen Xer, and we weren't hearing about the environment until this guy came and started telling us about the environment and about looking after the environment and how lucky we are to be a part of it, and about being good stewards of our environment. And he sang songs that he had written, and as it turned out, that man was John Denver. And I feel incredibly fortunate that he has been in my sphere during my lifetime. And basically, what he did was probably put a little nugget into my brain about this concept of a social purpose mission that can be shared by song and story and images. And that concept, and every time that I have experienced that, has really directly related to what my dream is for myself and my world. And I'm sure there's been a lot of examples in your life of things that have led you to your dream. So I would like you to begin to perhaps even take some time to identify some of those moments of the past that seem to reflect now to where you are as you're beginning to express your dream. One of the songs he sang was Country Roads, and a song that I've done many times. And when I think of that moment of him coming to my school and the connection I now make to the song and the work that I'm doing, it just, again, makes it more anchored, just a deeper experience for me. And that's why I'm encouraging us to all look at those things just a little bit more. The weightier we can put our pieces of experience and information, I believe the deeper intention and meaning that we can exude through our businesses. So this is what we've all become. We've ultimately all become entrepreneurs. And basically what an entrepreneur does is they make deductions, they try something new, they try to figure out what the next decision is going to be. But let's get real. The reason why I needed to do this program, or wanted to do this program, is because I know that being an entrepreneur, and particularly a creative entrepreneur, a values-based entrepreneur, an arts-based entrepreneur, it's not always easy. And it isn't for anybody. What happened is I hit a critical point. I hit several of them, but I hit a real major critical point 20 years into owning my own business. And it was at that moment that I knew I had to make a decision. And I either had to put in a significant exit strategy and quit, or I needed to go on a more meaningful next step and figure it out so I could continue. I had grown as a technician. I had lots of success in that. There was recognition. I was getting lots of recognition. I had great staff, and I had clients, but I also knew how hard that I was working all the time. And I also knew that our profit margins were very, very lean. And I also had this feeling of worry that was constantly growing about whether I was going to be able to continue or not. And to be sustainable for another 10, 20, 30 years is to know that I could be was really important, because I had all those things. I had clients, I had staff. So I needed to make a decision. Is my company truly viable that I can do this for another 30 years? Or do I need to make a decision and not continue? And what I decided to do was I decided to, before I would quit, that I would go on a quest. And this quest was going to be pretty significant for me. And I knew all the things it was going to include. It was going to include a lot of personal work, but it was also going to include a lot of research, and it was going to include a lot of school. And it was going to be getting really real with every area of my company, reviewing absolutely everything that I did. And if you read in the beginning of the Wellness Incorporated book, you'll also hear about me bringing together a business den. And what I don't go through in the book, as deeply as that was, it was terrifying. It was an absolute terrifying experience to bring people like a vice president from the Royal Bank of Canada, and to bring a money columnist that used to work for BNN. And these people came, and I had met them briefly over the years, and the fact I could even get them together was so remarkable. And I was nervous. And rightly so, because I was about to bear all to them, from my finances to what I aim to do. And you can read a little bit of that story in the book. So today and throughout this program, we're going to investigate ideas and best practices that I've ultimately learned from all the problems that I was having, and many of them I didn't even know I was having until I went on this quest. There is an article in Entrepreneur Magazine that I'm going to be putting into our unit that gives us 10 reasons why companies fail in the first 10 years. We often hear that if your company's going to fail, it's going to be in the first 3. If your company's going to fail, it's going to be in the first 5. I love this article because no, I actually think that if you can get to the first 10, it doesn't mean it's clear sailing. If you can get to the first 15, it's not clear sailing. If you can get to the first 20, it's not clear sailing. And so these quests that I'm talking about, it's not just one time. I'm in another one already of seeking things out because I do believe that every step of the way, we're going to have to go on an even deeper quest in order for us to sustain. It's great to be new. It's hard to really, really last. Any of you out there who are married or significant relationships know that. So the biggest dilemma or the biggest challenge, not even dilemma, it could be exciting. The biggest challenge, which is terrific, is decision making for the entrepreneur. And the entire reason I wrote Wellness Incorporated was to help you create a frame for your business that you can rail against, where you can make your next best decision. Because entrepreneurs have a lot of options. I'm also sending you this next article, which are the 8 traits of entrepreneurial thinking. And I have a feeling all of you are going to dig this so much. And you're going to like it because it really tells us all the ways that we are thinking and making our unique decisions in our businesses. And this is all entrepreneurs. But you know what this also brings up for me? So we've got problem solving skills, and we're creative and resilient, and we're comfortable with failure. That's why I wouldn't say we're comfortable, but we have some level of comfort where it happens and then we move forward. We understand other people's needs. We're making do with very limited resources. Most of us are running such lean companies, hey? We're comfortable with teamwork and networking. So all that's great, and kudos to us and pat ourselves on the back. But look at all the things we're constantly doing. No wonder we get tired at times, or no wonder where that one more knock, and it could have been the littlest thing, and to anybody else it wouldn't have been a big deal, but it was that one more thing, and you just go, what is going on? Well, look at all the things you're doing. It's amazing. And let's just give ourselves a moment of being really proud of ourselves for doing all this, plus doing all the good technical work that you're doing. So the layers are huge. This article I'm going to send you is out of the Haskeen School of Business here in Calgary. And it's just the way that entrepreneurs think. But what they're saying is that people in careers that are employed in large organizations like Alberta Health Services or any health care system, that some of these skills or all of these skills also benefit those employees. So I think you'll like the slant of this, how entrepreneurial thinking could solve a lot of problems in the non-entrepreneurial world as well. Serena, if you don't dare to try and chase your dreams, you'll rob yourself the joy of doing it. And hasn't she been someone remarkable to watch? Perhaps the greatest athlete of all times, but doesn't really get the kudos for being so, which is interesting too, no matter how hard she's worked. She's an interesting person to look into because she also has a lot of business methodology and is doing a lot of social good work. When you are a values-driven entrepreneur, which I know all of you are, you understand that you're part of the dream. What's hard is we know we're a part of the dream and the expression of that dream, but we may not always realize we're also a part of every problem, every one of them. And we're also part of every solution. And as we go through this program, if we are going to remember anything, it's that. Any problem, we're not going to blame other people because we're a part of it. And we're going to find a solution because that's part of our job. I want you just to take a moment, and if you're typing it, it's great, but if you have a journal beside you, I want you to consider the dream you're currently a part of. And I want you to consider the difference you want to make. So just spend a little moment thinking about the dream you're currently a part of and the difference you want to make. So I've always known at some level I want to make a difference. That's directly correlated for me in living out the purpose that I've been planted here with. And so for me, there have been some real beautiful alignments of activities and things I have done over the course of my career that have reminded me of that purpose and of the difference that I want to make. So I put together a few activities for us at the beginning of today. So if you want to just take out your workbook, and you might want to jot down some notes. But in your workbook, we're just going to go through a few of the things. So the first thing that I want to go through are the first page, which is the activities to support your good work. And the reason we're having 2 weeks between classes, and I really gave a lot of thought to this because, again, I know how busy we are. And you may have just a half day a week that you can work on this program. You may just have an hour. You may just have 5 minutes first thing in the morning. I don't know how you're going to schedule fitting in the depth of this work, but I encourage you to strategize where you are going to put a bit of time, just particularly on the hub and the work in the hub, and go to the Facebook page and see what's going on there and just really sink into it, because this is ultimately for you and it's for your business, and all of our businesses are unique and they will all be personalized very specifically to our unique needs, interests, and our clients' unique needs and interests. So we're going to start right where all business classes start, and that's with the missions. And it's almost to the point where we hear the term mission statement and it's like, yeah, I know that already. But this really is the home. It's your beacon of what you're always going to be coming back to. So one of the things I will add into the unit is I will write out JB Music Therapy's mission and just a few details around the mission. And you can add your mission statements underneath it if you're comfortable to do that. But I also want to suggest that if you're looking for feedback on your mission statement, that you can ask that. And ask specifically what it is. Like, are you wondering if it's detailed enough? I wonder that about ours. You know, ours is pretty broad at this point, but there's something about it that inspires me. So I keep it the way that it is. Do you feel you've detailed who you're wanting to serve? Is that strong enough? I've put some examples in front of you that you can look at. And, um, so Nike, to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you are an athlete. So basically, they've just done what a lot of people say don't do, which that's not very nichey, but it's inspiring. And I'm sure that inspires people knowing Nike goes, you know what, we truly are for everybody. We want a pair of Nike shoes on absolutely everybody out there. If you walk, or if you don't walk, or if you have they probably had to do that too, because not everyone's walking. So if you have a body, you know, this is going to be for you. You are an athlete, and therefore you're our client. Very interesting. So you can look at different people's missions. Ultimately, in the mission statement, you are going to be answering these questions. You're going to be answering, what do you do? How do you do it? Whom are you doing it for? What feeling value does your business bring? And having that moment of inspiration, what's going to inspire you when you read it to take your next best step. One of my favorites is this beautiful elephant sanctuary. And if you're on my personal Facebook page, I actually just put a post up this morning where I think I want to run away and make music with the elephants, because there was this man playing piano with the elephants. And it looks so peaceful and purposeful and beautiful. And the elephants interact. Oh, they're so lovely. The Elephant Sanctuary is a natural habitat refuge where sick, old, and needy elephants can once again walk the earth in peace and dignity. And I also put that into your workbook so you can use it as an example. It might not be one that inspires you. There might be another mission statement. And that's the other thing. When I put the mission statement into the Facebook page, feel free to add, I found this great mission statement. Go ahead. This is our platform to share great things that are out there. Core value. Well, it's interesting because we all know we're calling this a values-driven business. We all have values. We hear the term core value. But this is one of the things I'd never really put a lot of consideration into. And I was at a casual supper with friends, as some of these things go. And the one person, the husband of the woman who invited me, who I'm just getting to know, but who's an incredible realtor in our community, and has a lot of energy and pizzazz, and is really fun and kind and all these great attributes. I knew all that already, but I was still getting to know him. And he went into the kitchen after supper, and he was starting to do the dishes. And I followed him just to see if I could help along. And as I picked up a towel to start drying, he said, Jen, he said, so what would you say is your core value? And I looked, because it came out of the blue, and I didn't even respond right away. And he said, for everything you do, what's your core value? And I knew all of a sudden we were in a conversation that was that weighty conversation. And it was important for me to stop and put the towel down. And he did the same. And we looked at each other. And he said, let me tell you mine first, and then we'll come around. I said, okay. And he goes, mine's responsiveness. And I took that in, because that wasn't even close to anything that I was coming close to at the moment. Responsiveness. And he started talking about all the ways in his business that when a client calls, he wants to respond as quickly as possible. And that's what led him to get an assistant. When a client is needing to sell their house, he wants to ensure that he's always responsive to their needs, and no little thing doesn't get responded to in a timely, efficient manner. He wants his team to respond to him quickly. Everything about his business is about responsiveness, and that's his core value. We then entered into a dialogue of something that I'd been thinking about for a long time, which is I do believe at some level how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I'm still putting that to the test, and I'm curious how you feel about that. How we do one thing's how we do everything. The spirit in which you do it is how you do everything. And so I'm going to leave that thought with you. And then we began to workshop a little bit about my core value. And I knew right away that it was about connection. Connection's connecting with you right now is really important. And that's why I'm looking at the camera as much as I can, even though I know I'm missing some of my notes that I'm then going to have to add onto Facebook later. But I'm realizing that my connection to you is really important. And one of the ways I do that's by looking at you. I know that connection's important to my clients because I have seen other people in the same industry as me, the same sector as me, work with clients who aren't as connected to their clients. And there's a difference in the sessions when they're not. I know it's important for me to feel connected to special people in my family and my friends and my mentors, and just that connection is really, really important to me. So when I'm thinking about that, I know it's even deeper than connection. So I'm still working on the word. One of the words that keeps coming for me is transformational connection, connection that transforms the person I'm talking to as well as myself. But one of our pieces of homework is looking at what's your core value? What is it? I love Dennis's responsiveness. I just would never have thought about that. So feel free to get creative. And then just kind of tag on that next part, which is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And see if that begins to fit with your core value. Sound okay? Culture. So it doesn't matter if it's just you. If you are your business right now, just you still have a culture. You have a lot of this might stem right off of your core value. You have a culture of how you do things. You have a certain work ethic. You have a certain feeling you have when you're working a lot of the time. Your clients, whoever they are, have a certain way they feel when they're around you. There is definitely a culture code starting to develop amongst you and your team. It does get more difficult when you add staff because now you're bringing them into your culture. And depending on how early on you brought them in, at the early stage of your company, you may not have fully developed your culture code yet. That was my case for sure. I was in my early 20s. I was trying to do all those things that entrepreneurs do. And really, I didn't give a sense to my culture code for many, many years, what that is and what onboarding was I actually doing to ensure people were coming in. And I've had to revisit this aspect of my company lots. And I'm realizing as a part of my quest that I have to pay attention to our culture code often. Again, when I said I've entered into another quest, this is a big part of that because I want to express the work of my business in a certain way, all elements of what we're doing. And it's important, if I have a team, that we're all striving towards the same mission and expressing it in a similar way where all our clients are feeling that way when they're around us. So, on your journal or typing into your computer, here's your question. What do others say about you, especially the unsolicited words, the words that keep coming at you that you're not asking for? Maybe one, two, or even six words that they would use to describe you, describe your work, and describe those that are affiliated within your business. And are you feeling already some trends? There's no one right word. Maybe they're like Dennis and they're saying, you guys are so responsive. Maybe how caring you are. What are some of the culture words that you can start defining? You're always so happy. I don't know what it is, but what are some of the words? Maybe in the chat box right now, why don't you just start writing one or two of the words people say about you all the time, so we can just share it as a group. And if you're not on the session right now, live, perhaps I'll put this slide up and you can start defining what your culture code is in the Facebook page. But what is it that people are feeling you're all about? As you grow, and if you do start having staff, and when you have staff, and I know lots of us already do, I would like you to think about what kind of document do you want to share with your staff on an ongoing basis in regards to this culture code. And I go into the details in Wellness Incorporated and also recommend some resources there. Thanks, Mackenzie. I like that. Reputable and reliable. That's a great one. And what an honor to be able to give in that. So probably what hurts the most is when something happens and it doesn't feel very reliable, right? Because that's when the pain points really hurt, that you have this culture code and then all of a sudden something happens where you know you missed the mark. And that's tough. Catherine, detail-oriented, attuned, inquisitive, curious, and loyal. So incredibly important. Love that. Thank you. So as we go through what our culture is and identifying what we want to maintain, we just need to keep this list and keep it close to our heart. So although this program is not specifically on how to start up a business, it's more that once we're into it, how are we going to grow it? I wanted to make sure that for some of us who may not yet have developed our business plan, that we know that we can. And I've just put the Canada one up here because we're all Canadians right now. And so the reason why I'm putting this up is because you might be surprised that the Canadian government actually has a page to help entrepreneurs start business. And the reason is that small business is a huge amount of our GDP, huge amount. The other thing you might not realize, our small businesses are what pulls basically an entire country out of recession. So when you hear an economic downturn, it's the small business owners that's going to pull us out of it, which also excites me and makes me feel, again, quite purposeful, bigger than myself. So what I want to go through with this too is also a part of my quest was revisiting my company structure. And you might think it a little crazy, but at 20 years in, when I went through the big crisis, and like I said, there were many times that I had thought that I might need to quit long before the 20 years. But the 20 years was a serious time. I actually gave myself a deadline to come up with the decision of whether I was moving forward or not. And I had to write papers about it, and I had to detail different exit strategies. But I also had to come up with other models and details. Oh, I just want to read some of these first. Oh, I love this. So Jan, I love calm, kind, laughing, flexible, caring, creative, delivers. So good. Karen, inspiring, transparent, fun, creative. Kylie, your heart. Oh, that's really good, hey? So again, when those moments, those pain points come up, it can feel, you feel like you've let people really down, because we've ultimately let down part of our culture code. And it's really, really hard when it's a staff member that have gone against this culture code. And so first being able to identify it and then share it can be incredibly important. So when I was looking at my business, some of the things that I began to realize I needed to seriously look at. One was to convert my company into a nonprofit. That was one of the big changes that I could make. Another one was to sell my company to a larger organization, or elements of it, or perhaps a staff person would want to purchase it because they'd be able to take it a next step, or where it was going to go. I put in all the plans. An external music therapist would purchase it, and I did a lot of work, and this is going to come up in our very last class, which is on legacy. But what I learned through that process informed me of what my next best decision was going to be. So, which led me right back into my business plan. So all that to say, if you don't have a business plan that inspires you, that every time you read it inspires you, it's going to be really hard to get over the tough times. So I'm in my business plan every 4 months. I'm reading parts of it for sure. And every 6 months, I go through the entire thing, which is now 57 pages long. And all of it informs me as to what I'm doing, why I'm doing, and where I'm going. And so if you go to canadabusiness.ca, it talks about planning your business, organizing your finances, registering your business, hiring and managing employees, all the taxation, gives idea for organization, and it even has business plan templates. Everything's right there. And the nice thing about going to your country business site is that it has all the tax rules. It breaks it down per province because it's different in different provinces. So I encourage you that if you haven't explored this as a resource, it's a really great place to go. And I get lots of questions about, Jen, how did you start your business? And that's great. But then they start asking me how to actually do it. And I realize a lot of people don't do research first. And part of our group is we're going to be researchers first. We're going to look things up and share them. And this may be one of those places you just hadn't considered for some of the information that you're looking for. If you're struggling with your business plan, it may be because you're really, really creative. And so I cannot recommend this one enough. I teach in a couple of creative arts therapies programs. I just got back from Concordia, where I do 2 full days of business with the students there. And I also offer 2 full days of business with the Prairie Institute of Expressive Arts Therapy here. And this is the business plan I recommend if you are a right-brained creative, but it's also another great one to look at. And so I wanted to put this one up as a resource for you, and I'll also share this on our Facebook page as well. And if you've got other business planning templates that you absolutely adore, do not hesitate to share them, because you never know who they're going to work for. A vision board. Okay, this is time consuming. So this one you may not want to do over the next 2 weeks. You may want to do this one over the summer or at a down point. I have done 3 in my lifetime. When I did the first time one, I mocked it. I said, "Oh my gosh, that's for all the woo-woos. The woo-woos do the vision board." And then I found myself, cutting, pasting for an entire day, feeling absolutely transformed and having a little tear in my eye as I figured something very important out about myself. So woo-woo or not, it taps into our feelings, and it felt great. As humans, we've always been the dreamers, and that's what we're talking about in this unit. Imagining the future and hoping for all the good things to come. And some of the best ways we can express this, as we know, is through art and creative. The vision board has some really solid backers for it. And I will share again some resources for putting a vision board. I will also take a picture of my current vision board and tell you a little bit about it and why it sparked a little bit of extra joy this last time that I did it. I can also remember the previous vision board to this, where I had cut out a microphone and I was putting it on. It was just a microphone. And it's because I'm a speaker and a singer. So I was putting it on, and all of a sudden I started crying. And, and I felt really bad with the people I was vision boarding with, because I'm the therapist in the group. They didn't quite know what to do with me. And where it was coming from, once I could get it out, is just how grateful I am to have a voice. And I am grateful to have a voice. And it's important that I use my voice kindly, caringly, and ultimately everything that we're writing down as our culture code, that I'm expressing that through my words and language, and not and just to remember how important that is. So there's ways to kill our dream. This video I'm going to put online. Actually, it's going to be the first thing I put up today. And I want all of us to watch this 6-minute TED Talk on the 5 ways to kill your dream, because we don't want to do that. So you're working through your health entrepreneur's prescription. We haven't even talked about what it means to be a health entrepreneur today, or a social entrepreneur. Next, in 2 weeks, we're going to come back and talk about our expertise and our strengths. And we will be entering in a little bit more into that, or a lot more into that. We are going to look at our next steps and then open up for questions. The next steps is ultimately about doing this foundational part, all these foundational questions, to help us put the frame together so we can make our next best decision. Remember, you never need to run your business the way that others feel ought to be done. I have just posted about this. You must find the right path for you. Your business is unique, your clients are unique, and personalization's everything. And it's really going to contribute to this ultimate aim we all have of being a sustainable business that can last and that can take it through some of the difficult times. The rest of the program, after we set this foundation of knowing your dream, is going to be on how to express it, and to express it fully and effectively, so we are sustainable. I dreamed early. I had a dream early, but I didn't share it early enough. I kept it very close to my chest and did not collect the right supports around me early enough. Kudos to all of you. I know all of you a little bit, and I know how you are constantly collecting people around your world to give you the supports you need. My hope And my aim is that this program is going to be another strong support to help you go to the next level, the next step. If we don't have the right supports in place, we're also not getting the right feedback. And it's feedback that's going to make the difference as to how successful you are. That is the end of this first class. Our next one, we'll be talking about strengthening our expertise. In the meantime, we have 2 weeks of a lot to do. And as I said, I'm going to be unloading it into Facebook. I don't know how soon I can do it, but I'm going to try within the next 2 days, but it could be 3 days, just to get all the information you need in there. And if you have any questions, you can message me or you can ask me right now. So I will give you an opportunity to talk. I'm unmuting you if you want to. You can mute yourselves now if you want, or unmute yourself if you want to. Either, or you can put just a question in the chat box, whatever that may be for you. And just introduce yourself before you talk. Karen, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. How did you do? My hand was waving. You saw that, I guess. Yeah, isn't that funny? Okay, I'm on right now?
You are. We can only hear you. We can't see you. That's good. We don't need to.
Okay. I was thinking, I love this, Jennifer. It was just so, I don't know, it was just so warm and inspiring. And yes, I intend to put lots of work into this. So carve some time. I liked how you reminded us of the different pieces. My question is about decisions. And I think when you said that, it just spoke so much to me. And it is all about decisions for me, you know? And because there's so much possibility, I just keep going wider, like I just keep getting, someone will say, here, try this. And so and my practice is to help people listen to their inner knowing about, and here I am getting sort of like.
I know. Oh gosh. Yeah. It is. It is. So, it is interesting being who we are, because as I said at the beginning, we've got all these things, and entrepreneurs and with heart are looking bigger, but also how important it is to at times bring it really narrow so we can make a good decision. And knowing when to test, which can be incredibly expensive, to going with what we know in the moment. And again, I wish I had one answer, but I know I don't, because I know every scenario is going to be different for us. But what I do know is by the time we get through these 9 steps, you are going to have a much stronger frame that you're working in and a much more solid foundation. And my hunch, and Karen, I'm so excited to hear from you, is that the decisions will be easier. We still will never make what's a perfect decision. We'll know there's a good decision because every decision still has a cost. Something has been lost, something has been gained in every decision we make in life. But there is going to be a better decision. And I'm hoping together we're all going to get there.
Yeah. I believe that too. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thank you. I'm just gonna be open to getting clearer around this.
Yeah.
And mine, right?
Yeah, and just dig into the moment. So these activities that I'm going to be putting up in the Facebook page. Oh, and let's also be clear. You probably won't get through all of them or do all of them. Pick one. Pick one that inspired you the most, because how we do one thing's how we do everything. So it's better that you do one of these things really well to its fullest expression than try to do a little bit of all of them.
Oh, that's good advice to me. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Good. Okay, any other questions today? Any other questions?
I would love to ask a question if that's okay.
Yes.
I'm finding in my practice, at least right now, one of the most difficult things is when those opportunities that are really great and exciting and are going to naturally move your vision forward, but they've landed in your lap when you least expect it. And just knowing,
Timing.
yeah, the timing of that. And I imagine you have ideas for how to tackle those objectives through the course, but that's kind of
Be-
where I'm at right now.
Because just because lots of good things keep happening, should we be saying yes to absolutely every good thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I do believe this is where your mission really comes in handy.
Okay.
Lindsay. So when you go back and read your mission, are all of these things aligned? That would be the first step for
Okay,
me,
cool. Yeah, that
right?
helps.
Yeah. And as simple, and we all know this, but we just don't often always take the opportunity. And Mackenzie, that was a big one for me. So much good happens. And I just, again, had to turn down something that was awesome. And it was awesome, but it just was not directly aligned with our mission. And so when things aren't directly aligned with our mission, they become a beautiful distraction, and we are going to lose something else that is in our mission if
Hmm.
we pursue it. But it's tough. It's tough to say no.
Yeah, that helps a lot because I'm finding now with the stage of where my company has gone, or is going, that there are more and more things. So yeah, I'm learning how to prioritize certain things and have growth plans into like 2020 right now.
Right?
With Yeah, so it's that helps though in the context of this work. I do resonate with the fact that a lot of the stuff that is in this content are often things that are kind of in your head and you haven't really like formally written them down in a very concrete way. So it's really useful with how you set things up to really solidify things, even if they're just kind of floating in your head and in your heart, so to speak.
Absolutely. And in this part, then, as you revisit your mission,
Hmm.
keep in mind that nothing's static. So there
Right.
might be some language that also needs to shift in there for you to feel that you can fully express what you know or what you want to be able to do, right?
Yeah.
So that's why this family try to stay as much in this unit as you can without going too far ahead. Okay.
Sounds good. I will do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks. Thanks, Jan. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you. All right. Is there any other questions at this time? Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you. Meant a lot. And I am so looking forward to to hanging out with you. I will probably be in the hub every day at some level, so if anything comes up there, I will follow up. Thank you. Take care.